is another beautiful Friday morning here in the city of Umuahia. And of course, good morning to you. Thank you for joining us here on Flow 94.9 FM, the Flow of God's Own State. My name is Wisdom Thomas. 2023 elections may be months away from reality, but it's essential that the electorates have a shared understanding of every element which could contribute to the aftermath of the elections, whether it pans out their way or the reverse. Therefore, on the platform this morning, we will be looking at one of the seemingly emerging forces in the state, the Labour Party, with a lot of questions about their capability of being competitive. And of course, to look at this and more, joining me this morning is Ferdinand Ekoma, who is the Special Advisor, Media and Strategy to Dr. Alex Otti. Good morning once again. Good morning to you, Mr. Ferdinand. Many thanks for joining me this morning.
Good morning, my brother. Thank you very much. And good morning to the good people of Abia State. As always, it's my pleasure being on the program.
All right, good to have you. So let's get into the swing of things already. We have to start off with the party of your principal, the Labour Party. Some persons are believing that the Labour Party do not have the structure to challenge the heavyweights as long as the state is concerned. The ruling party, PDP, the APC, and of course the All Progressives Grand Alliance. What is your reaction to this?
For me, at the moment, I think the Labour Party, at the moment, has the most formidable structure. The biggest structure anybody can talk of, the most effective structure anybody can boast of, the most visible structure anybody would want to embrace, in terms of politics, in terms of election, is human being. So we've got the human beings, and incidentally or coincidentally, the symbol of the Labour Party is human being. So we've got a structure, we've got large followership, we are mobilizing, we've got large followership of Abians who are desirous of being part of the history that will be made in Abia come 2023. So Labour Party may not have been very visible in the past, but because progressives from all walks of life have come together to say this is our new home, and in Abia State, Alex Otti is the face of Labour Party. We are setting up structures at all levels. We are setting up structures in the 184 wards of the 184 ward, the electoral wards of Abia State, and we are going to populate our people there. We are going to set up offices. We are setting up offices already, and the needful will be done.
You sound quite optimistic about the fact that the party has adequate structure enough to challenge the elites as long as the state is concerned. And interesting, you mentioned Alex Otti being the face of the Labour Party. Some school of thought are as well thinking that it's looking as though it's a one-man show, with Alex Otti, who you mentioned, being the leading protagonist or character in that regard. What's your reaction as well?
That's absolutely incorrect. Alex Otti is the governorship candidate, and of course, the governorship candidate of a party is usually the leader of the party. And also, when we say the face, of course, Alex Otti's name is on the lip of every Abian. It's a very popular name. He's somebody whose record, both as a private citizen, both in the corporate world, and now as a politician, is public knowledge. We know what he has done and we know what he's doing. But here, we've got three senatorial candidates. We've got senatorial candidates in the three senatorial districts of the state. We've got House of Assembly candidates in the 8th Federal House of Reps, constituencies. We've got 24 House of Assembly candidates in the 24 House of Assembly seats of Abia State. So we've got we've got people in all the constituencies where we are supposed to have people, and we were very careful in selecting our candidates. They are very formidable. They have the capacity, they have the followership, they have the enthusiasm to be part of the change. So it's a collective battle, it's a collective fight, it's a collective project. It has nothing to do with Alex Otti as a one-man, not at all. And of course, the events of the coming weeks and months will prove to everybody that Labour Party has nothing to do with one-man show. Alex Otti as one man show. Not at all. Not at all.
Well, he strongly disagrees with that very school of thought. Let's stay with the party, Labour Party, and talk a bit more about them still. Some persons are following the events and the unraveling state of the politics in this state, and some sit some point, maybe you can regard them as those who are against the party, and they think and they say that the party is a pool of aggrieved persons from maybe spilling out of the likes of PDP, APC, and of course Abga. Does that tickle your fancy?
It takes grievance to do something differently. It takes disappointment, to embrace change. Some people who may not have been part of the progressive project to write the checkered history of Abia have decided, not just that they joined the Labour Party, some of them have decided to turn a new leaf. Some of them have now embraced a new philosophy of change, not just change, positive change. Change is one thing, and positive change is another thing. So a lot of people are aggrieved, but majority of the people who are contesting on the platform of the Labour Party are doing it because they have something to give to the people. They're doing it because they have capacity. We can mention we have a lot of course, as time goes on, we are going to unfold our candidates here. We're going to assess, we're going to discuss them, and you will agree with me when the time comes that there are people who can actually deliver. Of course, we had the choice of picking anyhow, individuals, of selecting people just because we want to occupy, positions for people to run election. No, we said no. And that is why, for example, let me use the case of our presidential candidates as an example, where we had somebody as a placeholder. Of course, he has the capacity. The man has the capacity, but he wasn't going to be the vice presidential candidate. He was there as a placeholder. There were places we had individuals whom we felt do not have the capacity. We had them as placeholders. We had other, aspirants who were willing to fly the flag of our party. We said no. We know what we want. And in those places, we have filled them with very capable, very committed, very passionate, very brave individuals whom we know, if elected, we passionately serve the people. So it has nothing to do with picking aggrieved. If you are just picking aggrieved people, aggrieved persons, you can just go and pick anyhow people and feel for the sake of saying, yes, you want to run an election. But that is not the case here. We are very careful. We are very conscious. We try to be discerning in our decisions. So it's not about people who are aggrieved. Some are aggrieved, are genuinely aggrieved. There were some people who were not genuinely aggrieved. We refuse to accept them. But then, in politics, alliance and realliance and approachment and reapproachment are both very, very, very key in politics.
Let's stay with the party, because it is definitely where your principal obeyed is the standard bearer going into the global elections for next year. But then you mentioned the fact that the party is well grounded in the state, but then a lot of Abians are still inquisitive to know how grounded they are. Are they entrenched in the grassroots? Politics is about number, so throw more light in that regard.
Thank you. In the past, in the previous elections we've had in the country, primaries were usually around October, and after that you just have maybe 2 months to campaign, then the election comes. But here, primaries were concluded in June, except where people want to do withdrawals and all the rest of them and do replacements. So what that implies is that people now have an ample opportunity, enough time to do the needful. You have enough time for consultations, enough time for mobilization, enough time for reach outs, enough time for alignment and realignments, and that's what we are doing. We can't pretend, and say there are no challenges. There are challenges, but it's a process. We are setting up structures at all levels. We are mobilizing, we are reaching out, we are forming alliances that would help us redeem our dear state of Abia. So we cannot claim that we've gotten everything right, but the process is very on, without hitches, and the enthusiasm people are showing, it's very commendable. It's very inspiring at all levels and the world, and different local governments. People are getting in touch with us because they want to be part of the change that is going to happen in Abia State in 2023. And that platform is Labour Party. So in every ward, we are getting our people together to ensure we have a formidable structure So the process is ongoing, but I can assure you that we're definitely going to get it right, because things are not in order in Abia. Our people know that things are not in order leadership-wise, and that is why people know that this is a decisive moment when they must be part of the change movement led by Dr. Alex Otti and the Labour Party in Abia State, and it's going very well, I can tell you.
Interesting. You mentioned the change that the Abians are yearning for. One key element in that change is your principal, Dr. Alex Otti. So we switch gears to talk a little bit about him at this very point. He did vie for the governorship position in the state in 2015 under the platform of the All Progressives Congress, Grand Alliance rather. Did the same in 2019. However, in 2020, he switched to the All Progressives Congress, APC, the ruling party at the center. And earlier this year as well, he switched as well to the current party, where he is the standard bearer. And some would look at these antecedents of his and they feel he's not a true party man.
A perfect party man he has been, and that is why every party that has had him have been proud of him. And let me use that of Abga as an example. We do not, I would not want to start talking about Abga, but we all knew where Abga was in Abia State before Alex Otti joined Abga. And we knew the great accomplishments that we had done in Abga before he left. So that alone can tell you who he is, what he believes in, what he can do. For example, when he joined Abga, he set up offices in the 184 wards of the state. Offices that were non-existent. Abga was just known as an Igbo party that some people would just use to trade prior to that time. But that didn't happen in 2015. What did he do? He came here, mobilized people, financed a lot of people's aspirations, and we won several House of Assembly seats, the House of Rep seats, and all the rest of them. We became the leading opposition in the state, even though we had an APC that was in charge at the federal. But everybody knew that Abga was the opposition party. Why did we leave Abga? We left Abga because people who should consolidate on the vision behind the formation of Abga, led by Dim Chukemeko Demekunjuku, Chief Chekwa Sokoro, and the rest of them, deviated and now saw the party as a platform to defraud people. That happened. This is public knowledge, and that is why you can go to a state like Imo State. Abga literally doesn't exist because of what transpired in 2019. Happened in Abia, happened in Anambra. So if you look at the Anambra election, was purely won on the name of Professor Charles Chukwuma Soludo, coupled with the sentiments people still have about Dim Chukemeka or Demegun Ojukwu. So we left Abga because they merchandised Abga in Abia and used this as a platform for extortion. So because we did not want to experience what happened in 2019, we moved on. In APC, of course, we have left APC. The crisis is still there. The problem is still there. Their own is that they threw democratic ethos to the dogs. And people are excited that we left. And since we've left, it's still the problem is still there. It means we were never part of it. Instead, we came to a proper solution to it. And because they were not ready to give room for democratic practices, we moved on. And like I said, the crisis, they are still fighting. At the moment, they can't tell you who their candidate is. Nobody can tell you who their candidate is. We were not part of it, and nobody has said that we were responsible for the crisis. So we moved to Labour Party without waiting for anybody to be there. We joined. You saw our brother, our friend, and now our leader, Mr. Peter Obi, also joined the Labour Party. Can anybody say that Mr. Peter Obi is not a Democrat? No. But it is because the Nigerian system sometimes appeared to be skewed against decent, against honest, against principled men. And of course, that was why Mr. Peter Obi, who was a member of PDP even before he ran on the platform of Abga in 2003 and won the election and left.
You are making tenable the fact that he left the party. Okay, let's still stay with him. The fact that he's been moving, he's been cross carpeting from these parties, Abga, APC, now Labour Party, the tendency that some persons, his admirers, those who follow them all the way, may have dropped at some point or maybe more. And I'm talking about the numbers because we know politics is down to number. So my question in that regards is this: does he still replicate, or does he still epitomize a front runner going into the global elections as long as 2023 is concerned? That's in comparison with others who are the standard bearer of the APC, the PDP, in that order.
Of course he is. He's the most visible candidate in the election. He's a front runner in the election. And the reason is simple. To a great extent, Abians know what Alex Otti stands for. Alex Otti contested an election in 2015, which everybody, knows that he won convincingly.
But he's not the governor.
Good. It has happened anyway. Peter Obi won. He was not sworn in. The election was rigged. Another person was declared. He went to court and reclaimed his victory at Court of Appeal. Adams Oshomole won. He was rigged out. He reclaimed his victory at Court of Appeal. Olusegun Mimiko won. He went to court. He was rigged out. He went to court and reclaimed it at Court of Appeal. Alex Otti won. He went to court and reclaimed it at the same Court of Appeal. So if it was when governorship election, the judgment for governorship election was limited at Court of Appeal, Alex Otti would have become the governor. But because the electoral act was changed and now it was now given to Supreme Court to decide, on technical grounds, they said that even the dead could be recognized as having voted in an election.
I'm still asking, is he a front runner in comparison with others who are the standard bearers
of course, that was
APC?
what I was explaining, that he is a household name. He is accomplished, because these are factors that would decide your rating in an election. He has capacity. He's a household name. He's accomplished. He campaigns, he mobilizes, he reaches out to the people and gets in touch with them at all times. After the election, it's important we state this. Most people who took part in the election disappeared. Who was the only person who stood by the side to defend the people? Who has been the only person who has been known as the most popular opposition voice? It's Alex Otti. You see, governance is not all about being in power or leadership. Service to the people is not all about being in power. How has Alex Otti proven that he's a leader? He has proven that he's a leader by always identifying with the people, by always identifying with the pensioners, raising his voice, because he knows that it takes a government to solve the problem of pension, non-payment of pension, and all the rest of them. So he has been putting pressure on the government, lending his voice to ensure that the government does what it should do, that the government carries out its responsibility. And because Alex Otti has proven to be consistent, because consistency is key in leadership. It's not only during the election that you come out to talk. Alex Otti has been talking. There have been cases where the government tried to plunge the state into unprecedented debt crisis, and Alex Otti stepped forward and said no, did the things he was supposed to do. He has been calling for the government to do the right thing. He has also used his network of contacts to bring some development in some parts of Abia State. So that's how to be. So at this point, he's considered a front runner. He was on a fantastic platform, the Labour Party, and he is mobilizing our people. And of course, we are challenging our people to queue behind Alex Otti when the time comes.
Interesting. If you're just joining us, this is the platform, the pinnacle of all discussions, where we look at the issues with our political, social, economic issues. We dissect them just about to ensure that you make the right decision, informed decision. And good thing this morning, we are looking at the capability of Labour Party and, of course, the principle of my guest in the studio of swaying votes when the election comes to reality. And the next question I'm going to ask is this. We know that the state was a little bit with divergent views in terms of the Charter of Equity, where some persons were thinking it should go to the north, it should go to the south. We want to understand, where does Alex Otti stand in these very aspects? Does he think it should go to the north? Should it go to the south? Let's get to hear from you, Mr. Ikoma.
Unfortunately, most of the people who are talking about the Charter of Equity have not even seen the document. They do not know what the document says.
Dr. Alex has seen it.
Of course he has. And remember that when the Charter of Equity came into place, or when it was written, you had Afikpo in Abia State. Now Afikpo is in Ebonyi State. And if you are to go by what the Charter of Equity says, you need to look at the old Aba zone, then you look at Old Bende zone, then you look at Isukwato, which was part of, which was where the Afikpo this thing belonged to. So Alex Otti believes that the best form of equity you can talk about is good governance, responsible leadership.
So he doesn't
so
think...
if people remember that there is need for equity only when they are targeting a particular individual to sponsor him and impose him on the people, they now remember that there is need for equity. We have listened to people who have never raised their voices to condemn bad governance in Abia, to make case for pensioners who are being owed to be paid, for workers who are being owed to be paid, for our institutions that are getting grounded to be revived. As you and I speak at the moment, ABSUT is shut down, is grounded. The School of Medicine is accredited. Those are the things that should, be disturbing us. So when you talk about equity that is detached from good governance, then we are not interested in it. So what Alex Otti is saying is this: no matter where anybody comes from in Abia State, and of course everybody knows that he is a full-blooded Abian. That is not in dispute. Full-blooded.
So he doesn't believe in rotation whereby everybody has a fair share of governance.
A rotation that is well defined. He believes in it. A rotation that is well defined, backed up by the law, and executed on the basis of competence first. Competence first. So if you say, because I'm from here and I do not have the capacity, I'm your brother, you said I should be rotated to this place so that I become the governor. You're doing an incalculable damage to the system. You are doing a disservice to the people. So Alex Otti is not against any well thought out rotation, any well thought out zoning. That must first and foremost be anchored on competence and capacity. He's completely not against that.
Competence and capacity, according to the let me get it. That's the special advisor, media and strategy to Dr. Alex Otti. Still the platform here on Flow 94.9 FM. At this very juncture, we go on a break, and when we make a return, we look at what is happening in tandem with the Labour Party on the national level, the emergence of Peter Obi, and the issues surrounding his running mate. And you wouldn't want to miss any part of it, would you? So stay with us. Oh yeah, this is still Flow 94.9 FM, the Flow of Godson State. It is the platform, the pinnacle of all discussions, where we look at the issues as regards you and myself, social, political, economical, and even more. On this very platform, we dissect them and just about to ensure that you make informed decisions in the nearest or even the farthest of future. And of course, joining me this morning as we look at the issue of the Labour Party and of course his principal, Dr. Alex Otti. In the studios with me is Mr. Ferdinand Ekoma, who's a special advisor, the media and strategy to Dr. Alex Otti. Thank you, and I'm glad you're still here.
Thank you. I'm still very much here.
And of course, we are live on Facebook. Go to facebook.com/Flow949. You can see what is happening in the studio and drop your comments under the video there. You could equally be a part of the conversation much later. I'm going to reel out the numbers when it's time, but let's talk about Labour Party on the national stage now. We know how it all panned out in terms of the representatives or the standard bearer of the parties, the notable ones, the ruling party, All Progressives Congress, the People's Democratic Party, I beg your pardon, and of course the Labour Party. There is the NNPP as well. But let's stay with your party, Labour Party, and Peter Obi. What do you make of their resurgence? Is it just about Peter Obi who emerged there, or is it about the party supporting someone who is capable of doing something? What do you have to say?
It's about a revolution which its time has come. A revolution that is going to come from the electoral process. A non-violent revolution, a pro-people revolution being championed by Mr. Peter Obi on the platform of the Labour Party. Of course, you will agree with me that there were two persons who stood for the Labour Party presidential ticket, Mr. Peter Obi Okute, and of course, a very respected erudite scholar, Professor Pat Otomi. That alone gives you clue as to what Labour Party stands for. And in his magnanimity, thinking outside the box, Professor Pat Otomi, withdrew for Mr. Peter Obi. He withdrew and endorsed him. He stepped down for Mr. Peter Obi. That tells you a lot about what Labour Party stands for. It tells you about the caliber of individuals that the Labour Party parades. Labour Party represents a new dawn, and we are excited that our people, Nigerians across religious, political class lines, are queuing behind Labour Party and Mr. Peter Obi. So a lot of great things are happening there already. People are becoming obedient on a daily, on a minute basis, and it's just awesome.
You're almost campaigning, though.
We are not campaigning.
It's important.
So we are talking about membership. We are talking about alliance. We are not saying vote for. We are not saying election is here. Not at all. Not at all. We wouldn't go contrary to the NBC rules. So we know campaign is not here.
Let us still stay with the party, and of course, Peter will be it was gathering momentum. I'm talking about the alliance between the Labour Party and the NNPP. Sadly, that did fell through. The fact that Rabiu Kwankwaso from Kano State at some point said they cannot be a running mate to Peter Obi, and because that is the state of things at the moment, do you still think he's going to be a formidable force for adequate competition against the People's Democratic Party former Vice President and Atiku Abubakar, and of course that of the All Progressives Congress, the ruling party at the center, who is Ahmed Tinubu?
The fact that everybody is discussing Peter Obi tells you a lot about the threat they consider him as. A huge threat to the establishment, to the undemocratic establishment, to underdevelopment, to insecurity. And that is why even those who are supporting the other candidates you've mentioned have abandoned the defense of projecting their candidates to talk about Mr. Peter Obi. So he is a new dawn that has, to a great extent, already written our political discourse. He is a threat because he has supporters who are unbiased about his candidacy, who are not interested on where he comes from, who are not interested whether it is their turn, not people who are saying that is their lifetime ambition. Peter Obi is not coming because he feels it is the turn of Ndibo. He's not running because he feels it is his right to become president. He's not running because he wants to satisfy the interest of certain individuals. He is running because he wants to take Nigeria from the abyss of underdevelopment. Nigeria is sliding. Our economy is going south on a daily basis. It's collapsing. But the dangers are staring us in the face.
But then the truth is, before I allow you to continue, the alliance with the NNPP could have made so much sense in the political scheme of things. However, we know that Kwankwaso commands a lot of followership as long as the North is concerned. But that, like I said earlier on, has fallen through. It is no longer looking as though it will be possible.
Well,
but do you still think whoever is going to choose as a running mate, the talk has been about the starting man, Yusuf Dati Baba Ahmed. We know that, of course, Dono Kukwe, who is the placeholder for the VP slot yesterday, did hand in his letter saying he's resigning as his vice president person going into.
Yeah, he was a placeholder and he has withdrawn, so there was no problem about it. It was well planned. Okay, that was an arrangement he had with Mr. Peter Obi and the leadership of Labour Party, and he has withdrawn. Interestingly, we have a very capable hand. You see, the problem we have in Nigeria is that we've so gotten used to politicians, professional politicians, that we think that once one is not a professional politician, he doesn't have anything to bring to the table. But that's not true. And the reason why we have always held this thinking in this direction is because we have never believed in free and fair, transparent and credible election. If not, everybody would be excited about the man we are mentioning as the running mate of Mr. Peter Obi. I'm talking about Senator Yusuf Dati Baba Ahmed, the owner of Bell University.
And you think he can be
from Kaduna State. the most important thing is that he has reputation. He has a name that everybody knows. People, somebody must not be, like I said, a professional politician for him to stand a chance. P2B, can anybody describe P2B as a professional politician? Today, what is happening? The most popular candidate. The same thing is going to be replicated in our deputy, our vice presidential candidate.
I've got a very big question to ask in tandem with the followership which you've mentioned along the line while you were responding to other questions. But at this very point, I would open up the phone line so we can take your reactions and, of course, get your comment in tandem with what is brought to the front burner this morning. It is still the platform, the pinnacle of all discussions here on Flow 94.9 FM. I've been speaking with Ferdinand Ekoma, who is the special advisor on media strategy, media and publicity, of Dr. Alex Otti. He's here in the studio. The numbers to call 08081826949 or 08116052949. Oh, you prefer an SMS? That's fine. Send it to 09065108289. Let's take the calls. Hello, good morning.
Mr. Speaker, good morning.
Thank you for joining us. Tell us your name, your location, and straight to the point.
I did the Bennett with gentle and organized gentleman in the house. I did. My name is Excellent. I'm that prophet from Onimo. Please, I want to contribute SSC.
Just do that in 1 minute.
The man there has spoken well. I guess I will give him like 8%. I won't give him 100% because he's a woman. Like 8% has spoken well. Even if because when you are with sex, you can never know the written text and the original. Abia said that the interesting text. Now, you will see what will happen. Let me tell you the gospel in 2015, Alex Otti won 2015 election. And the appeal court affirmed it, and it was swatted by Supreme Court. What is of our ballot and Paris money? I'm telling you the truth. That money made Onoge richer than Dangote. He gave a radical judgment that he said that he interpreted.
I hope you're not throwing an allegation on this very platform. It's essential you stay within the scheme of things. We are talking about the Labour Party this morning. Can you listen to me at this point? We're talking about the Labour Party and, of course, Alex Otti. It wouldn't be very nice if you digress from the scheme of things.
Okay. Yes.
Thank you very much, Joe. You've made your contribution. The line very much open. When you're calling, your name, your location, and stay within the scheme of things. Thank you very much. Hello, good morning.
Hello.
Thank you for joining us.
Yes, good morning. Am I in the Flow FM?
This is Flow 94.9 FM. Tell us your name and location and your contribution as well.
Yes, my name is Honorable Saukuronkwemo Koma. I am calling from my life precisely. I want to comment, first of all, let me greet my dear brother.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Dr. Alex Otti, Honorable Ferdinand Ekoma.
Thank you, my brother.
My good brother. Thank you so much. I'm very, very appreciative. And this is the time we need a change, both in the Abia state and Nigeria. Then every Nigerians will support Mr. Peter Obi as our own candidate. And also Dr. Alex Otti, which also I'm working here to make sure that I deliver Dr. Alex Otti and Mr. Peter Obi in the state. And I work for them.
All right,
to make sure that we need a change.
Thank you.
Thank you, my brother.
Thank you very much. We'll continue to take the calls. I've got a question which I will ask you definitely.
Hello, good morning.
Good morning. Thank you for joining us.
Yeah, my name is Israel. I'm calling from Obafara.
Go ahead.
I want to appreciate my brother Ferdinand Ekoma, who have been standing with our brother and our daddy, Alex Otti. May God bless him.
Bless you too.
I just want to contribute that everybody have seen the truth. Peter Obi is a man that everybody wants. And nobody can stop the movement. And I believe that Peter Obi's decision, that also would have been the worst thing that would have happened to Nigeria or the Igbos. He have made a wonderful decision. And we are at his back.
Thank you.
Let him go ahead. We bring hand up to our brother Alex Otti.
Thank
Let
you
him go ahead.
very much for your contribution. He mentioned the movement, and you said something which, of course, I told you that doesn't bode well as long as this moment is concerned.
Okay.
Peter Obi movement. Some persons are looking at it as though that's a social media thing. That is just about people lending their voice. It's about the social media. And the question is, does that transcend into reality? And there are people everywhere in the country who are very much in support of whatever movement Peter Obi
those
is
who say it's
putting together.
Whether it's social media razzmatazz are just critics, but it's welcomed. Okay, we don't feel bad when we hear such things. We try to win such people over. Nobody sleep on the social media. That's the truth. Those people who say social media, they're also on social media. Everybody that comes to social media has a word, has a polling unit where he comes from, has a word where he comes from, has a polling unit where he votes. So when people say these things, these are jabs they try to use to disorganize you. So you remain focused. We are remaining focused. We are mobilizing. That is the most important thing. That is structure. Most of the structures you see on social media, on Facebook and WhatsApp groups, the people gather. When people want to hold meetings, if it's not a visual meeting, they come to offices. They go to wards. I was in my local government yesterday for a meeting. Okay, I'm on social media at the moment. So when people say these things, we are not bothered. The most important thing, if those people who are saying social media were not threatened, they wouldn't make people to be the subject of that discussion.
So you are saying that in truth, such structures exist.
Of course, you saw thousands of people in Edo State a few days ago marching around Benin, singing P2B's praises. You think those people fell from the moon? They are on ground in their different worlds, and the awareness, the voter registration enlightenment has been unprecedented. It has never been like this in our history. What does it tell you? It tells you that people are enthusiastic about supporting P2B and the Labour Party. People are enthusiastic about supporting Alex Otti in Abia State, and that is what is happening. So we ensure that solidarity, that mobilization, that awareness reflects when the time comes, and is reflecting already in our different worlds. People are queuing behind Alex Otti and Mr. P2B and Labour Party. Candidates everywhere. When the time comes, and of course they will replicate it on the ballot.
When the time comes, but what is the time is taking your calls at this very point. I'm going to be taking your calls because that is what we are all about. Good morning. Thank you for joining the platform this morning. Tell us your name and location.
Good morning, Weezy. My name remains Sahai.
You're welcome, sir. Go ahead.
Good morning, the guests in the studio.
Good morning, sir. You're welcome to the program.
Yeah, I want to take you on two sides of the coin. One, the fact remains that the P2B has become a movement that doesn't have a stopping point until he actualizes the position of, or occupies the position of the president in this country. If you look at it, he's taking the same dimension that they took in 2015 against Jonathan. The two different things there is that during Jonathan's time, it was more of propaganda. And that kind of propaganda was used against Jonathan.
Yeah.
Thought it was a good package.
All right, wrap up your thoughts
and at
now.
the end of the day, come again.
Can you wrap up your thoughts so that others can have a go?
That is what I'm trying to say is that anybody who is believing that what is happening in social media will not hold or will not make any meaning as far as people is concerned is wasting time, and should better go and pick his or her PVC and do the needful. Secondly, and the lastly, I want to ask my guest in the studio, what happens to the 2 billion naira or whatever that Alex Otti promised us during his campaign in 2015 that he has secured from one sector or whatever that he wants to use to do or invest in Abia. And after his failure to occupy the seat, nothing is being talked about that money. Please, can you explain to us if it is still the same Alex Otti?
Thank you very much. He's definitely going to respond to that very question. All right.
Okay. My brother Alex Otti never go and listen to his clip, the clip again. Alex Otti never said that he has secured any money. He said he has secured a grant. When you secure, somebody who has a name, you have an understanding with any financial institution. It's a grant, and the grant is not even a loan. It's money given to you to assist you for a project, and you are not expected to pay it back. But that would have happened if Alex Otti was sworn in as the governor. The institutions that would have given you the money do it on the basis of your name, your reputation, your capacity. Okay, it's like where you want to go and borrow money from the bank. The person that indemnifies you or provides security for you will determine whether you will secure the money or not. But because Alex Otti was not sworn in as the governor, the institution withdrew from that understanding. So it's a very simple thing.
Isn't that moving ahead of yourself? I mean, in tandem with what you've explained now, I mean, trying to secure the grant when you're not yet the governor. Shouldn't you have waited for that to pan out before
when you are
making
contesting
such move?
An election, people make pledges. People identify with you, and they will see the manifestation of whatever promises they may have made to you. If you are declared the winner, you are sworn in. It has happened. It's not a new thing. It happens everywhere.
All right, let's continue to take your calls. Hello, good morning. Thank you for joining us. Tell us your name and location.
Good morning, my brother.
Good morning. You're welcome.
My name is Evangelist Kenneth calling from Umuahia. Good morning, Ekoma.
Thank you. Morning. You're welcome, brother.
Thank you very much. The truth is this. The founding fathers wrote about the equity. And the 3 senatorial zone, they have messed it up. Having messed it up, let them forget it, let them cancel it and go for competence. Now, if you want to say the actual truth, since Abia, everybody was out of Abia and Abia is alone, Alex Otti is the only man that has stood to fight the government of their injustice, the only lone voice. Where were others? He's the only man that has stood after election to say this is wrong or this is right. So he deserves to go there.
Wrap up your thoughts. Wrap up your thoughts now.
Then again is this, if you want to talk of Labour Party, APC and PDP, P2P among their qualifications, take out. God bless you. P2P is there. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Let's talk a little bit about the state. Possibly maybe the final question. That's if the spirits do not whisper something else. Okay. Let's talk about the state of security in the state. Are you impressed? Is your principal impressed with the spate of insecurity here and there?
Overall assessment. Every state of the federation is facing security challenges. It's not peculiar to Abia. But then we can't single out Abia for condemnation or criticisms. But then you don't say because the house of your neighbor is on fire, your own should also be on fire. We have this Bubago, we have Abia Vigilante Group, we have Abia Homeland Security. I understand that they did recruitments, and people in charge of that institution, people working there, have been complaining that since they were recruited, government has not paid them, government is not paying them. So you can't train people, equip them, and refuse to pay them. Now we are facing security challenges, and we've got the resources to tackle these problems. If the federal government has failed, of course the federal government has failed in the area of security, should we also fail? Our people are being kidnapped and being killed. You can't travel from Umuahia to Okigwe to Uturu to Umunoti without being kidnapped. It's taking a dangerous dimension. So because we receive security vote, because we have enormous resources to use the men that have been recruited and trained to fight this insecurity, to protect our people, we should do it. So I am not happy. Nobody is happy. No one is happy over the security situation in our state, in Umuahia here, in Abia, everywhere. But I'm saying we are not singling out Abia state government for condemnation, but we are appealing to the governor, we are appealing to the government to do the needful. We need to protect lives and property. There is no development that can take place in an atmosphere of insecurity. That is why nobody is happy with the federal government over the banditry, the kidnapping, the Boko Haram attack, the prison breaks, and all the rest of them.
Okay.
So we are asking the government to live up to expectation, to up the game, and ensure that lives and property are protected. Very important.
To ensure that lives and properties are protected. Still taking your calls. Hello, good morning.
Good morning this morning. Mr. Wisdom. Good morning to your guest, the media advisor to...
Morning, sir. You're welcome to the program.
I'm calling from Doro in Iguano. I want to say this. I want to also ask this question. What I'm asking this question is this. Remember, in 2015, the restaurant of Labour Party now, the Victoria restaurant, which is Alex Otti, he was talking about his government. When he made mention of he was from Anongwa. And again now, I want to ask, where is he taking his restaurant stand? Is he coming from Abia South, or is he coming from Abia North? That's the first question. And again is this. Don't you think, I mean, it's media, that all this catapulting jumping from one party to the other, it's not pleasing to that not the one that can have a...
All right. Wrap up your thoughts so he can respond to that.
what I'm trying to say, for him to be jumping from one party to the other, I think it shows that he has nothing to offer. Because for him not to be in a party to visit, he's now jumping from one party to the other. Not
Thank you. I think you've made your points, and he will definitely respond.
Alex Otti is not the chairman of any political party. One party does not respect its constitution, its democratic ethos, its guidelines and and everything. You are entitled to move on. If what a party turns out to stand for runs contrary to your own ideals, to your philosophies, to your principles, you have every right. And that is why Mr. P2B left the PDP for Labour Party. That's why some other very honest, patriotic Nigerians have left their former political parties to another political parties. Moved to another political parties. So it is not peculiar to Alex Otti, and he has nothing to do with inconsistency. At least between 2014 and now, Alex Otti has consistently stood for and by the people. I think that is more important. Because if you remain in a political party that will, strangulate you and prevent you from doing that which you intend to do for the people, then you have no business. Doing the party is just a platform, just a vehicle to power. The most important thing is service to the people. So, like I said, Alex Otti in 2015, he didn't disappear. He remained there. After 2019, he didn't disappear. He has remained there. Nobody can say he has not been hearing his voice. He has not been hearing his thoughts and responses, his reactions to issues concerning governance in Abia State. That's the most important thing. So the decision to leave one political party or another are usually as a creation of the circumstances or the challenges or undemocratic practices in such political party, and this is not peculiar to Alex Otti. Then on the issue of where one comes from, I think we should go beyond this. Alex Otti has never pretended about where he comes from. You understand? Alex Otti is an Isialangwa South man. He's not hidden, and he told you that his ancestral home is Arochukwu, the respected Aro Kibo. This is not in dispute. So he's actually more Abian than those that have tried to ridicule him. So there is no controversy about where he comes from. So he contested in 2015 as an Isialangwa South man. He's contesting today as an Isialangwa South man, and tomorrow whatever he's doing, he does it as an Isialangwa South man. But he will never disconnect himself from his ancestral home, where he is respected, where he's grounded, where he has huge presence. Nothing can change that, and we are very unapologetic about it.
All right, okay, we are still taking your comments. I've got the raft of messages here, and we are going to do justice to a couple of them. This one says, good morning, sir. Please, where can I find Labour Party office in Umuahia? This is coming from Madwa Abuchi from Umuahia as well. Still staying with the SMS line. This one is saying, Buhari and Ahmed Lawal. I don't know if this is actually for us or in tandem with what we are talking this morning. It says Buhari and Ahmed Lawal are disappointed with security intelligence system and lack of. This is absolutely out of what we are talking this morning. Let's still stay with the messages. All Nigerians need this time is love and tolerance with truth and trust. If
Labour Party office, let me just
go ahead,
is located at School Road by Ikotek Bene Road, strategically located by School Road by Ikotek Bene Road in Umuahia. You will see our flag, you see everything. You can go there and make your inquiries. It's very visible, strategically located, like I said. So go there and make your inquiries. Or you can come to the Alex Otti campaign headquarters, 2C Library Avenue, Umuahia, just almost opposite Okpara Auditorium. That's our campaign headquarters in Umuahia, 2C Library Avenue. Or you go to the Labour Party office at 76 School Road by Ikotek Bene Road, Umuahia.
Okay, this one says, I greet Ferdinand. My name is Excellent. We don't party, we vote individuals. Alex Otti has structures. Also, all Abians that voted for him 2015 are also his structures. The PDP end of the road has come. That is according to Excellent. This one is from Osinachi, and he says, P2B is not for Igbo, but for all Nigerians. We look forward for a new Nigeria. We all prayed for Osinachi from Amarachi. Good morning, sir. Okay, still staying with the messages. Before we turn to the Facebook and look at the comments that have trickled in already, we will do justice to that. He says, how will Alex Otti guard his vote in 2023 to avoid a repeat of being rigged out? This is from Kano Zomba. You would respond. I'm sure you want to say something in that regards. Oh yeah, I would look at that. Abians are not interested in zone or tribe. Best form of equity is good governance, and we believe Alex Otti has the capacity to provide it.
And of course, a new Abia. This is from UV, and you have to write your name in full, shouldn't you? And so we can be able to identify the person. This one is saying, brand new morning, Wisdom Thomas. Oh, this is not for us. Okay, let's look at the comments on the Facebook platform. This one is from Esther Chine Chereman. She says, 94.9 FM Omaha. Please ask him who is Alex Otti's choice of deputy governor. He will respond. From Chris the Song, he says, please, Alex Otti should be giving a chance to rule. Perhaps that's what he wanted to say, chance to rule Abia. And from Ifanye Azumiro says, we Abians are strongly behind Dr. Alex Otti. We have suffered so far here in Abia. He's the only one that will challenge PDP that has destroyed Abia. An allegation. God bless Nigeria. And this one is from Onyemechi Igwe. Keep up the good work. So finally, your words as we leave the studio, because time is vehemently not our friend.
Please go. If you've not gotten your PVC, we've got a new dawn. 2023 is going to be the most decisive opportunity for us to rewrite our checkered history both in Abia State and in Nigeria. We are asking you to go and get your PVC, align with the Labour Party, support the best candidates. Of course, in Abia, we've got Alex Otti as the best man. In Nigeria, we've got Mr. P2B Okute. They're all running on the platform of Labour Party, and we've assembled very capable hands across board on the platform of Labour Party. Please identify. The state belongs to us, and we must come together to do everything humanly possible, democratically, to ensure that we reclaim our dear state for the good of our people. Things are not going the way they should go, and that is why we should all be involved. We should be concerned about the challenges we are confronting in Abia State.
Time is not our friend, but that is the voice of Ferdinand Ekoma, who's the special advisor and media publicity to Dr. Alex Otti. Thank you for being on the platform this morning.
Thank you, my brother.
And many thanks to everyone who engaged us via our phone lines, via the Facebook page, and of course through the phone lines, the SMS. My name is Wisdom Thomas. The platform will make a return next week on Monday. Join us same time, same station. God bless you for now.